If the wild African elephant is ever driven to extinction, man will certainly have plenty of souvenirs of the slaughter. You see, to many, an ivory chess set or hand-carved letter opener seems too trivial to kill for, especially a creature of such majesty and intelligence as the elephant. But for so many others, ivory is a good luck status symbol worth striving for. With the demand so high, up to 30,000 elephants are poached each year just for their tusks. So tonight, a trip into the black market for white gold. It's known from New York City to China to Africa and then back to the States. A journey where corruption reigns and a few wildlife crime fighters try to change human nature before it's too late. They say you can buy anything in New York City.
This is $10,000. This is less expensive than that piece.
But can you buy the hand-carved souvenir of a slaughtered elephant? To this beloved creature, the tusk is a key to survival in the wild, used to forage and fight. But they are worthless against a man with a gun, who can then sell that white gold on the black market for $1,300 a pound. When elephants began disappearing in the 80s, all trade of new ivory was banned worldwide. I'm interested in ivory.
Okay.
So this New York dealer tells me his ivory is old enough to sell legally. But here's the rub. New demand is so much bigger than old supply. These animals are now disappearing from the African forests faster than ever. So to better understand these grim laws of supply and demand, we set out on a global investigation. From the gleaming ivory markets of China to a $12 million pile of tusks and trinkets in Denver, to the smuggler shops of West Africa.
If I ordered a big piece, how long would it take?
Where a hidden camera is the only way to capture the truth.
On a de matière, on va emballer. Quand on fait le scanner, on va voir que la bille.
Since there are organized ivory crime syndicates now working across Africa where corruption is rampant and police don't care, many think the elephant is doomed. But not if this guy has anything to say about it.
Fighting corruption should be the first thing that we do. No matter where it takes us. It's going to be tough, it's going to be a war, but that's what we need to do.
His name is Ophir Drury, and he is a self-made wildlife crime fighter.
We started working on this.
With a team of amateur detectives, he uses hidden cameras and microphones to build cases against poachers and smugglers across Africa.
We get inside his house and find all the documents.
And once he's gathered enough evidence, he then begs, cajoles,
get inside that place. Until now, you search nothing, basically.
goads and guilts local police into enforcing laws that are never enforced.
If there's no traffic artists behind bars, there's nothing.
In the past decade, his group named Laga boasts 900 arrests of people who trade in everything from birds to apes to big cats. But their top priority these days is the elephant and those who profit from their destruction. A billion-dollar food chain that begins deep in the forest with men like this. Pictures of poachers at work are extremely rare. But Nightline acquired this footage of a man who claims 499 elephant kills. And a warning here, his 500th is hard to watch. He doesn't have enough bullets to put the mighty beast down quickly, so it suffers for hours before he can carve off just enough meat for the hike home and two modest tusks worth tens of thousands of dollars. There were 30,000 kills like that just last year. And you can see the effects on safari, where dwindling herds are given their distance because a traumatized elephant never forgets. They saw their entire families killed for meat and ivory. And as a result, they're really, understandably skittish around human beings. But more tangible proof of the slaughter was recently discovered hidden in a shipping container of mahogany wood en route to China and seized in Malaysia. 6 tons of ivory, the $12 million remains of over 700 elephants. And when he learned that container was shipped from West Africa, the little coastal nation of Togo, Ophir knew he had to come here, to the capital, Lomé, and start digging.
He's advertising the fact that he has ivory for sale.
This is Julian, Ophir's South African operative on the ground here in Togo, and posing as a buyer. He has developed some tantalizing leads towards a man everyone calls the boss. Is that what you asked if you were a spy?
Yeah. Clearly he's conscious of the legal implications of what he's doing.
We'll join this twisting, turning hunt for the boss, but since Ophir is too exposed to go undercover, Julian will be my guide into Togo's black market.
You want to have a look? Oh, wow. I mean, these are amazing.
We want to see just how much ivory an American can score in an afternoon here.
You see that guy's carving a piece there?
Oh, look at that.
So we start in a small workshop, where in a back room, hand-sawed chunks of tusk are fashioned into trinkets from crude
How much is this one?
to impressively ornate.
If I ordered a big piece, how long would it take?
For $8,000, this trader claims he can track down a full fresh tusk and custom carve it in 1 week flat.
How would I get it to America?
But when I ask this man about smuggling, he gets a little cagey.
You don't know. I'd have to come here and get it.
But he and a couple others mention a man with real connections.
Only one person, Mbuki.
Okay.
A man named Emile Mbuke, the boss.
Mbuki is our boss.
Oh, is he your boss?
Because he worked with the boss.
Bonsoir, monsieur.
Comment ça va?
Julian finds him,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
and the shelves of his shop prove the legend is legit. Ophir estimates there is 500 pounds of ivory here, around 30 elephants worth in open display, which means he probably has connections and could be a lead to solving the case of that big Malaysian seizure.
The information that he holds is enormous. If we could only, jump inside his head, I'm sure we could start arresting some of the bigger guys worldwide.
Ça fait 195.
But getting him to admit to smuggling could be a delicate dance.
It's these pieces here.
Julian begins by assessing the range of prices
Something like that would be how much? $26,000 for the big one.
and then eases into the topic of exporting.
We were talking the other day about sort of from an export side, what the options are. Can we still get a piece like that out?
That's when Mbuke suddenly wants a little privacy.
Ce que nous on va faire, hein? On a des manières d'emballer. On a de matière, on va emballer. Quand on fait le scanner, on va voir que l'habit.
To what countries has he shipped to before?
J'ai envoyé
Italy.
en Italie, j'ai envoyé à Singapour pour des gens. J'ai envoyé en Chine.
With this stunning admission
Okay, merci.
and the revealing visit to the other carver, Ophir has enough evidence, but he still has to convince local cops to raid both shops simultaneously. Tension builds on the morning of the raid. But as we arrive before the bust, the shop is suspiciously closed. Target, nowhere to be found.
I've got his number.
The problem is that this shop is not in a tourist area. So if a couple of white guys show up and start loitering, it could make Emile, the ivory merchant, even more wary. Ophir has investigators outside keeping an eye on the place. He says that the local police also have undercover cops keeping an eye on the place. And so they're all hopeful that somehow he'll show up, open shop, and then they can swoop in.
So it's still shut up.
There's nothing around here.
There's nothing around here where we can stop. I reckon we go back to the other place and take our chances. Okay, so what should we do?
Back at a cafe on the other side of town, Julian gets word from Ophir, who's at the police station, still trying to salvage the raid.
He knows.
How?
It's been a leak. If this guy is aware that he's been made and that he's under investigation, he will do whatever he can to destroy the evidence. So you've got to act while you've got the chance.
Suddenly, we get word the raid could happen now at any time. So we scramble to take position without being seen by possible lookouts. When we come back... No, go, follow him. The moment of truth. Will Ophir finally get his man? Back now to our trip into the black market of white gold, where a worldwide ban on freshly poached ivory has only driven up the price and driven down the numbers of Africa's wild elephants. Ophir Drury is the self-made wildlife crime fighter struggling against rampant corruption to stop smugglers, and his work has turned up a man who could hold a wealth of information along with the 500 pounds of ivory in his shop. No, go, follow him. We're rushing to document the capture of the biggest suspected ivory dealer in Togo, Emile Mbuke, a man the other dealers call the boss. I hope these tinted windows work. Oh, man. We hear he's been tipped off about the raid, but there is still a chance he might show. We are staked out around the corner. But the hopes of wildlife crime fighter Ophir Drury are dashed when it becomes clear that the boss caught wind of the raid and has officially skipped town. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions on this stakeout, waiting to see who's going to show up, whether the police cooperate, whether the authorities have leaked to the suspect. Unbelievable. And it's here we get a taste of the daily frustration in Ophir's crusade. To save animals, he has to struggle through a system so corrupt, every smuggler knows that freedom is just a bribe away.
We are not going to hide that in our country there is corruption.
Didi Ikue is Togo's Minister of the Environment, and Ophir has it on good authority that Mbuke was tipped off by someone in her department. But you must know that this is a shop that is not far from where we're standing right now. Why has he been allowed to operate in the open like this for so long?
We are not so organized when it comes to doing some investigation.
Can you guarantee that no one in your agency is friendly with ivory smugglers?
Oh no, I don't think we can guarantee that. I think for any big administration, we have more than 1,000 staff. If one or two are involved, we cannot say.
You need officials. You need corrupt governments. You need corrupt police agencies. You can't make citizens arrests of these poachers. Yeah. What do you say to the person who says, this guy is just tilting at windmills?
Look, we are not there to do what we do, and corruption stops us from doing that. We are here to fight corruption.
Along with fighting rampant corruption, Ophir also has the massive task of convincing people here to care about animal welfare. No small task in countries where both the black market and black magic can help drive a species to the brink. Got a blanket full of cobra heads over here, some owls, parrots. The juju priests say that if you make a tea out of parrot, it'll make your children more intelligent. It's easy to see why conservation is still such a foreign term for so many people on this continent. All animals are their magic and their medicine and their food. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, Asian cultures have long craved ivory as a sign of good taste that can bring good luck. And many here call it elephant teeth, wrongly assuming the tusks fall off and grow back.
If it's not stopped very soon, we're not going to have any more wild elephants in Africa.
Dan Stiles is an expert on ivory markets around the world, often going undercover to assess supply and demand. And he led us on the last leg of our journey, back in New York City, the center of America's ivory trade.
So what we're doing is monitoring what's going on with the scale of ivory. Is the demand going up? Is demand going down? Is demand remaining stable?
Finding this stuff is no problem in Manhattan, from priceless sculptures to cheap factory carvings from China and Africa. What's the age of this, do you think?
I would say 30 years old, 40 years old.
But the hard part is determining what is black market illegal ivory and what is antique legally imported ivory that came in before the worldwide ban.
It's not something that I can get my hands on and I can just call up China or Japan and say, bring me a tusk.
Every merchant we visit insists they sell only legal ivory. But since some new carvings are dyed to appear old, it's impossible to tell just by looking.
These are old, everything.
Yeah. Now, from where we sit, it would be easy to dismiss this as a Chinese problem. But do Americans deserve a little of the blame here?
There are a lot of Americans that like ivory. They buy ivory, and a certain percentage of that ivory is illegal.
Last year, 2 New York City jewelers were caught with over a ton of illegal ivory. There was a similar-sized bust in Philadelphia, and a Fish and Wildlife repository in Denver holds 6 tons. All of it will soon be destroyed to send a message. And while Ophir chases smugglers back in Africa, Dan is convinced that his methods will never work.
And in probably another 5 years, Ophir Drury will throw in the towel and he will tell you, I tried, but I failed. It's impossible, because of the corruption, endemic corruption, for law enforcement to actually stop the poaching.
He's among the camp that believes it will be easier to teach over 1 billion Chinese to stop buying ivory than to convince poor Africans to stop poaching elephants.
If people will not buy the product, people will stop killing the animals to supply it.
But maybe it will take both camps to save this animal, educating and shaming and enforcing with everything they have.
This is the front line. This is a fight. It is a never-ending fight. Our reward is not reaching a point of achievement and saying, oh, the world is a great place. It is a never-ending fight, and every time we know that we have to push further and further and further and further.
Despite Ophir's efforts, Mbuke remains at large tonight, and just a few weeks ago, another massive shipment, 2 tons of ivory, was seized in Hong Kong, shipped from Togo.